Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben, and I'm here with Brian to talk about episode number 12 of Survivor 45. And we are 1 week away from the finale of Survivor 45 here. By the end of this episode, we'll be down to the final five. And we have finally, we've been waiting the entire merge for the Reba 4 to break up. It almost happened last week with Julie, but she saved herself with her idol. And this week we finally see one of the four original Reba members who made the merge. Or I guess technically if you include the Murgatory, but yeah, with
Right.
Sifu is there.
6 of them made the merge. And
Yes, yeah. Sifu made the merge, and then
didn't make
J-Maya,
the jury.
J-Maya technically made the Murgatory. So yeah, but yeah, we've been waiting for this core four to break apart, and Drew ends up getting blindsided here. But before we get there, we have the ex-girlfriend at the party that is the apt name of the title. We have Julie coming through and doing her rounds with people. Or this feels like it's always awkward, right? When somebody saves himself with an idol and they just get back to camp, and you're like, ooh, everyone here wants me to not be here.
Yeah.
I just have to kind of work around that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was very funny that she just immediately went up to them. It was like, oh, it's kind of fun and funny because obviously they weren't really feeling that in the moment. I don't know if Jake and Katora had any real negative feelings toward her, but certainly the two, Drew and Austin, were not happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's actually funny because they showed in the preview last week, Drew throwing the pot lid or whatever, and I feel like they were trying to make that into Drew is really pissed off and he threw the pot lid in frustration. But we ended up seeing that down the line in the episode, and it was basically a nothing B-roll scene.
Right.
Yeah, he was definitely upset for sure. And somehow Dee and Julie are able to convince Drew and Austin that Dee didn't tell Julie about the plan when she very obviously did.
Yeah, it's funny. They were just so quick to be like, I guess we just suck at, having poker faces, and we must have tipped her off, not even giving a thought to Dee betraying them, which was very interesting.
Yeah. I'm curious what your thoughts are. For me, I think across the season, it felt like the show was trying to sell Drew and Austin as the power duo. But I think it's become pretty evident as this merge has gone on and as the Reba 4 has jockeyed for position that Dee and Julie are actually the power duo.
Yeah, well, definitely Drew and Austin had the game kind of in their hands with bringing Emily in.
Yeah.
And Emily being a third that they could have, made more moves with earlier, and then they were just not able to, I guess, and they lost Emily because of the idol. But it's just been almost they had these two competing interests of we have a 3 with Emily, but the 4 with the Reba 4, and then we'll kind of use Emily when we get down to it. But I don't know if maybe that was the right move because obviously it didn't work out. But it with so few numbers left, it didn't take much for Dee and Julie to when this coalition to get rid of Drew in this episode. The benefit of having Emily as a third is when there are more numbers, you don't have as many people to bring in to potentially flip something, and they just never really took advantage of that in any way.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that something we talk about with Emily in particular is her kind of undermining Drew and Austin a bit in terms of the other the Bellows, for instance, people Jake and Katura who end up here in this final five, and I think that while it definitely increased Emily's short-term position, it definitely mortgaged the ability for Drew and Austin to like leverage these Bella votes down the line. And it like, obviously like, Jake and Couture are going to be down for any name that isn't them. But when they're in a spot where they can basically choose which of the duos from Reba they want to swing with, I think that something like the Drew and Jake relationship really crumbling is going to make it a lot more difficult for Drew to like make that kind of a sales pitch. But like they did make the sales pitch last episode with everyone piling on Julie. So I think like it is interesting that it kind of was able to swing back here. I'd probably just give most of that credit to D. Probably.
Yeah, I think having Emily there too, like in order for it to knock on Julie last episode, like every other person left, D, Jake, Couture, and Julie would have had to be on the same page to not do it, and they just didn't really seem like super aligned in that way,
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I think it's a combination of Drew having immunity at Final 7 and also Jake and Couture each individually having a good social relationship with Emily, who is Julie's like secondary target. So
right.
Yeah,
no, and it was of course very interesting to kind of watch Jake and Couture navigate this round. I still don't think they have any like winner equity, and especially it was bad with Jake, and like the edit is even undermining it, where it's like I don't know if you felt the same way, but in this episode
100%.
I felt like they were like, this is Jake's big plan, that it's like, which doesn't matter because no one cares what Jake's doing,
Yes. Yeah. So I described it over text to somebody else that like in an episode where like Jake found an idol and is giving all of these like strategic confessionals, the show still takes like 3 separate detours to undermine and clown on him for like no reason.
Yeah, they're like just to be clear, Jake is not the reason what is happening is happening.
Yeah, maybe they learned from Xander, right? Where like where they're like, let's make sure that we give Jake spots, but then show you like step by step how he's completely wrong about everything.
Yeah. And it sucks too because he is in another world where Jake was calling the shots. He is like a good confessionalist where you would be like, wow, this guy's really smart. He's really got it going on, No,
he has a lot of good ideas. I think his strategic thought processes are really good, but he just doesn't have the social capital to actually accomplish anything, and he really has never had it. Like even on Bello, it felt like he was always kind of like a second fiddle.
Really in love with this idea of the forced rock draw flip that he came up with. That is never going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with it on paper, right? That
sure, yeah.
Like that's how you like put a stamp on that as your move. If you're the one who like I've seen it kind of like play out this way, in live games and stuff. Like if you force a rock draw and you like are the one at tribal council that is like the voice that makes the vote flip in the way that you want, like that's how you make it your own move, especially in a situation where you have nothing at this point.
Right.
Which I mean, Jake has an idol, so like he doesn't have nothing, but he has like close to nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was just funny because like he's like, okay, we need to do this, and Couture's like, I'm pretty sure D will just vote for Drew, and he's like, no, it's not possible. So yeah, all right, well, we'll see.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, like, it doesn't matter if she is willing to vote for Drew. Like, Jake's plan is to make it so D can't claim this move as her own.
Yeah,
which because Julie and like it was going to happen regardless of whether Couture ran the information immediately back to D.
Right.
But it definitely didn't help that Couture immediately ran the information back to D. which has been kind of Couture's MO for most of the merge.
Yep.
Which, yeah, kudos to D again. Like, it feels like I don't know what like social, like she's obviously like very charismatic and very like good at kind of manipulating people. Because like the ability for somebody to just get information and immediately just like, okay, I got to go tell D this information, even when it's been explicitly told for me not to tell D. But yeah, obviously the idea was for D not to be able to take ownership of the Drew blindside, and so that Jake would be able to take ownership for it. Because yeah, like now it is D's move, and I think at this point it's D's game to lose.
Yeah, I mean, even the jury's like excited to see her with immunity. That's usually a pretty good sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess what else we can talk about? You want to talk about the reward?
Yeah, an actual reward.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I usually zone out when Jeff is like explaining it, because I just expect him to be like, yeah, you guys are going to be going to the sanctuary again for this like mediocre meal of like half a chicken and a soft drink.
Yeah.
No fixings.
If they're lucky, if they get a soft drink these days.
You have to eat a rotisserie chicken with your bare hands.
Yeah.
This is a reward.
Yeah, no, this was sweet. Picnic on the beach, helicopter ride, very fun. Katora getting to be third wheel, also very fun. What was it, like charcuterie, right? That was the reward. Which, you know, great. I love a good charcuterie board personally, so I was into it.
Yeah, we talked about this with the auction. It's one of the better food rewards I think you can get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they must have had some left over that Emily didn't finish.
Right.
But yeah, no, I what are your thoughts, I guess, on this Austin D thing? Because like it feels like, one, it kind of came out of nowhere in the last few episodes, and two, it feels like they're just for some reason not admitting to the fact that they're like a showmance. They're like both dancing around it so hard, even in confessionals, for like no reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I think what it mostly ended up being useful for is like showing the difference between Austin and D as players, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, they were in the same spot. Austin was in the same spot last week as D was this week, and D played it correctly in both weeks.
Yeah. So, you know, I wish them a lot of luck. Modern day Rob and Amber, I guess.
Yeah, except D is both Rob and Amber in this scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe D will propose at the not live reunion, but the, you know, immediately after the game reunion. We'll see. Can't be worse than was that David guy?
David Murphy, and Carolina Eastwood, yeah,
that was a mess. Why do you do that in front of Amber too?
Yeah,
who made a face at the whole situation.
Yeah, it's when you're on Boston Rob's season that he won, and you're like pulling the move that he's famous for at the reunion. It's, pretty disrespectful, honestly.
Yeah, I think honestly, like, he was the only Zapatera who had like any chance of ever being invited back, and just completely torpedoed that. Maybe Mike too.
Yeah,
Jeff. That seems like someone Jeff would be into. But very impressive how unlikable the Zapatera tribe was given the setup of the season.
Yeah. No, you're not a Steve Wright fan?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Steve Wright.
Yeah.
Great. Literally like the great value Gary Hogaboom.
Yeah. I mean, at least, Gary Hogaboom had, I think, more win equity if.
If
they came in with numbers.
I think Gary was great and worked really well, and found the idol and played that. That was very fun. And then they put Steve and like, will this be as good? random backup quarterback for the NFL? No? Okay. Sorry. Nope. We won't do that again.
Yeah.
What
Well,
about
what they needed was they needed a sportscaster on that season to recognize him for him
him out.
to be like, nope, that's not me. I'm Steve White.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I like how they also had Grant, who was also an ex-NFL player, and I don't think that even came up on the show.
I mean, they haven't. I feel like Survivor's done that a lot, where they have like former professional athletes that are kind of like D-list in terms of like even within their sport.
Yeah. Well, I always so like whenever someone brings up like, oh, Tyler from Worlds Apart was a former professional football player, I was like, oh yeah, he was a kicker. Like he just, I don't know why for some reason I just can't picture him as a football player, even though he is jacked. I don't know.
Yeah, he's jacked, but he's also very like nerd coded, so it kind of balances out.
That's it. Yeah. It's like I don't expect someone who, looks like he studies CTE to play the sport that causes it.
Yeah, it's I'm surprised. Well, I guess kickers don't usually get roughed up.
That's true. That's very true.
Probably why.
Yeah.
So,
when will we bring up back another former pro athlete? When was the last one? Danny, right?
Yeah, Danny McCray.
Last player.
Yeah, that's the last one.
He was great.
Yeah,
he was fun.
Yeah, he could have won the season for sure.
Yeah, and then he did. Spoilers: he did win the challenge. So, but yeah, no. God, why did we start talking about Gary White? Gary White. Just permanently.
Gary Hawkins didn't work, so now he's Gary White.
Yeah. When he comes back for Survivor 50.
Yep.
Oh, he's probably so old now. He's probably like in his 70s now. But hey, Joe Del Campo, he was super old too, right? I mean,
nothing went wrong.
Yeah, everything was perfect. Yeah. The 2 times they put super old people on this season, Rudy got hurt and Joe Del Campo got medevaced. Can't believe they don't do that anymore.
Yeah. To be fair, 45 is like the youngest cast in the history of the show, or one of. I think it's the second youngest after Ghost Island. I think we said.
Yeah.
Not gonna regardless. Anyways. So the tangent started because we were talking about whether Austin and Dee were going to get engaged at the reunion that doesn't exist.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, I wish them the best. I'm glad Dee isn't letting, her love for Austin get in the way of $1 million. That makes me quite happy to see.
Yeah. Well, I've seen people referring to Dee as a new era Parvati. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
I don't see Parvati in her, other than they're both women and they're both attractive. Which, I mean, sure, I guess.
Both likely going to win.
Both likely going to win, but I don't like. Listen, Ben, if I ever went to play Big Brother and I came with my curly hair, I don't want people to be like, this is Cam again. I think quite different person than him. And I think Dee's playing a pretty different game, certainly from Parvati 1.0, let alone Parvati 2, 3, 4.0.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Parvati 2.0 is probably the most relevant comparison point in terms of Parvati 2.0 played James, and James technically didn't get voted out that season. He got medevaced, but they were planning on voting him out, and Parvati certainly would have been fine with voting him out. And he had the Black Widow Brigade all kind of bamboozling the men, and you had these two couples that were each relatively willing to cut each other. So I guess that's the closest comparison, even though I don't think that Dee needs to or cares to cut Austin. I think she pretty handily beats him.
The end.
Yeah, she pretty handily beat him in the jury vote, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You had to bite the apple.
yeah.
Which, not to
Yeah.
do a tangent again, but I think about this a lot, probably more than I should. The 2-season story arc of James being obsessed with temptation and the apple in the Garden of Eden in his first season, and then it not being mentioned one time in Micronesia until Parv votes Ozzy out, and then the first thing he says in the next episode is, "You had to bite the apple." Amazing. Such good, multiple season storytelling.
Yeah. Austin really hyper focused on the wrong male hero from Hero vs. Villains. He should have been. Yeah, he was like too focused on being the new JT. He forgot to take in the wise words of James Clement.
Yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, it's like you'll never be them, and just like Steven and JT or Drew and Austin. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, I wouldn't have even came to the conclusion. Drew in this episode references, he says Tyson and Gervais.
Yeah, no, that also like, I literally said, "What the fuck?"
Like
out loud, like Gervais.
Yeah, first of all, pronouncing Jarvis's name wrong. Second, that's like a really weird. Like, I don't even think Tyson and Jarvis consider themselves like a power duo.
Right.
Like they're not even like in the conversation for power duos that I think of. Because like Jarvis, really fun character. I'm very glad that they tapped the well and brought him back in Blood versus Water after so long. But not good at Survivor, and like not even like it was basically Tyson, and then like Jarvis was along for the ride. Like Monica was a way more strategic, like way more had way more strategic input in that alliance than Jarvis, in my opinion.
Yeah, plus she was just a neat lady. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a wild pull. I didn't really think about them as a duo either. Who would be like another dynamic? Oh, Dom and Wendell, obviously. Yeah. That's the if you're gonna say JT and Steven or Dom and Wendell, right? That's the other one.
Yeah, that's what I expected him to say, but then he said Tyson and Jarvis. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Hey, good for Jarvis getting a shout out here.
Yeah. I was like, maybe Drew had just like binged Blood versus Water before the season, but like muted the show every time they said Jarvis's name.
Somehow, yeah. So weird. Also, that would be such a weird season to watch before going on a modern season. Like, I know it was only like, no, actually, I was gonna say it was like 18 seasons ago now. But completely different era of Survivor. Like very, very different from anything that's happening now.
Yeah, a literal decade ago.
Yeah. And I remember when Blood versus Water was coming out, I was very nervous about how it was going to be like a complete and utter disaster. It was really good. So,
yeah.
But yeah, very different Survivor.
Yeah. Because we were, that was like the first season where Survivor was just like throwing a bunch of like ludicrous twists at the wall. But it worked.
Yeah, it somehow was so good. But I couldn't even imagine going back and watching Blood versus Water and being like, this will prepare me for it. It's almost the same. I talk about watching old seasons. Like I think at the beginning of this season, I was rewatching All Stars. It'd be like watching All Stars and being like, this will prepare me for a current season of Survivors. Like it's not even the same show. Yeah.
No, I think like, I don't think you can really watch anything before, like even before like Heroes Hustlers, because I think the fire making challenge like changes a lot of the dynamic of the end game. That's something I also want to talk about too, because I think that D after this episode is like so well set up because of the fire making challenge.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think it's correct for Julie to cut D at Final 5, even though she'll lose to D in the Final 3, because of the way the fire making challenge is set up. Because it would basically, if D gets cut at 5, right, and you're Julie, then if Jake or Katura win final immunity, they take each other, presumably, if they're not like completely brain dead. Like, it's like, I'm assuming they have like a basic capacity for strategy, which they've demonstrated a little bit. And then Julie is just going to get destroyed in fire making by Austin.
Right.
Yeah. So you need D there to lose in fire making for you.
Right.
But then if D is there, she has 2 shots to win and then win the game. So like I just don't really like, the only way that in my opinion that D loses the game is if she tries to target Jake at 5 and Jake idles her out.
Right. Yeah, which I don't see either. Well, I mean, it's possible. I just like, it's hard to, what is D going to do? I can imagine she wants to go to the end with the 3 remaining Rebas left, which does mean taking out the 2 Bellows. But like, we've at least for me, I've so long written both of them off as potential winners. That's like, why wouldn't you just want to bring them to the end? At least one of them,
Well, yeah, but it's funny because I said earlier, like, D can feel comfortable pretty much just going to the end with Austin and beating him. But I think from like a safety perspective, she's better off to cut Austin at 5.
Right.
Just because like all that matters is her winning either the final 4 immunity or final 4 fire making, and Austin is like the only one that really is like holding a candle to her at this point, in my opinion.
No, same. I liked this immunity challenge. Thought it was fun. Good one. Good take on the I don't remember which season other than Blood versus Water. Speaking of, balancing a vase challenge, but this time it was a ball to make it I guess a little more difficult. But yeah, I thought this was pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like I know we get a lot of kind of endurance style individual immunities in Modern Survivor, but this one is at least like kind of exercises a different part of your body. And I think they also really enjoy the fact that it's a short endurance challenge.
Yeah.
They're like, it's literally 20 minutes.
Yep.
Jeff's like bragging about how it's only a 20-minute challenge, basically. Like in and out.
Oh man, yeah. Jeff's like, I don't really want to be here all day. Let's just speed this up. But yeah, good for D winning another immunity. Very fun for her. Good smack talk during it. She's like goading him, the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, D is like very good in these challenges. Like, she didn't move for 21 minutes.
No,
like she was literally a statue.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Drew, who I have been in that position that Drew's in, where you're like in an endurance challenge and you're like, you're going to lose, but you flail around for an extra like 2 to 3 minutes to like try to hold on as long as possible.
Right.
But yeah, like
bad challenge for someone that tall, I feel like.
True as well, yeah. You just like higher fulcrum, which means you have less control.
Yeah. So.
No, yeah, 100%. But like it always looks really impressive when you start to like flail around like that and then somehow like save it. But it's always like very. You're just clawing the inevitable.
The momentum's contained, but it will break out again.
Exactly.
It's not gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was good. What else? Like we said, Jake found an idol. That was fun. Decided to get almost naked for it, which was interesting. Jake's just out here doing his own thing, which I love. Very fun. You know.
I mean, look, I don't know. This is obviously not going to be like, unless people are watching the Wicked Good Sports, this is not going to be super useful to anyone watching. But Jake just reminds me so much of Jack. Like they just like, I don't know. He's like got the bro-y vibes, but also he's like a theater nerd, and like on top of that, he's like kind of like goofy and like I don't know. There's just a lot of kind of unique qualities there.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. Very fun character. Very interesting guy to have on this season. This was a cool way to hide the idol, I felt like. Um, you know, we used to see scavenger hunts all the time. Now we very rarely see idle scavenger hunts, but they're back in the new era, I guess.
Yeah, or at least like, you know, you had like the X marks the spot puzzle that Austin had to do, right? Like at least make them put in some work other than, hey, here's like a knot in a tree that's very obvious. Oh, look, there's an idol in here.
Yep. No. Trying to think what else for this episode. I mean, the biggest thing for me personally was now I've won our draft or our winner picks. So, you know, very, very flawed system we have because Jake has 0 winner equity, but I technically won.
Yeah, no. Is it flawed though? I mean, like we know the rules up front, right? It's just
Right.
we know that we're essentially picking who we think is going to go the furthest. And,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's funny because I almost picked Caleb, and I would have picked Caleb, and I'd still feel like he had a better chance of winning the season than Jake does.
Yeah, I mean the other person
out in 9th place or 10th place.
I mean the other person that I was considering before I was like, hey, I gotta back Brandon was Austin. So if I should have just done that, I would have been a lot better.
Oh man. So yeah, I'll have the first pick next Survivor 46, which just got leaked to the cast. No one we know, or at least no one I knew, which was surprising.
Yeah. I don't
from New England, so that's always good.
Yeah, somebody from Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, man. Weird to say that, but yeah, Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
He's from the Casey Affleck movie.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, no, trying to think. I think that's about it, Drew. Tough way to go out. I saw a headline to one of his exit interviews. He said he felt humiliated, which, hopefully he's gotten over that. It's nothing to be humiliated about. It's just Survivor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it probably does feel bad. I don't think that Drew made a ton of mistakes. I think Austin kind of played him out of the game, if anything. Yeah. So between him giving Julie the idol, not asking for it back, leaking the plan to D last week, and then this week basically allowing himself to get bamboozled by his girlfriend into having her blindside Drew, and then wasting his idol on himself instead of playing it for Drew, and he could have saved Drew. There's at least 17 different mistakes that Austin made that caused Drew to get blindsided here.
Yeah, now that you're running through it, Austin is like JT, but only in the sense that he makes inexplicable moves that backfire horribly. So JT, after his winning season, is how Austin plays. Yeah. He's playing like he's already won $1 million.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's playing like he already has $1 million in the bank. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now he's just in there for the experience and for the girl.
I'll never forget on Game Changers when JT got voted off with an idol. You texted me immediately did JT get kicked in the head by a horse? Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Which maybe, honestly. Because that is not the man who ran over the entire cast of Token Cheens.
Played the first perfect game in Survivor history.
Yeah, it's so insane. I love it. They should have brought him back for Winners of War. I don't understand. We could have seen him make even more inexplicable moves.
Yeah, they really wasted JT. I mean, obviously, JT's Game Changers game was really fun, and his blindside was really fun. But I feel like they still wasted him, and they could have just saved him for Winners.
I agree. Well, he was definitely one of the when the Game Changers cast came out. You're like, why is JT here? This cast has no succinct theme. It's just people who have played Survivor before and nothing else.
It's the people who said yes when we asked.
Yeah, it's so weird. It'll forever go down as the weirdest cast ever assembled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just no coherent theme whatsoever, and paste the Game Changers thing over it, and it makes less sense. You know,
Yeah. No, they could have just called it like actually I don't even know. I remember at the time trying to think of a better name for Game Changers. It feels like there should be, like, you probably just pull it out of your ass and it would be better, but like you said, there's no coherent theme to the cast, so there isn't really like an easy way to name the cast.
yeah. I remember
Other than like
there's like a
Survivor, these people have played before. All
yeah,
Stars 4.
yeah. All Stars 4 would have made more sense because, especially when you name it like All Stars 4, it's like, okay, this will just be whoever like is on it. Like it's not that important, you know.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I was thinking about, I saw someone, I think it was Reddit, called the modern era of Survivor 2.0, which I can't really disagree with. Like it does feel like its own show. Almost like it got rebooted on a new network or something, but it's still on the same network. Will they just call season 48 presumably just Survivor All Stars again? like they did Big Brother with Big Brother 22 and Big Brother All Stars, even though they had an All Star season? Or do you think they'll call it All Stars 2?
I hope they call it All Stars 2. I think that was one of my gripes with like on a season that I had many gripes with BB22.
Yeah.
Amongst those hundreds of gripes were that they just called it BB All Stars instead of BB All Stars 2 because it's just confusing.
Very, very confusing.
But Tar did this too. Tar had Misery Race did like All Stars, and then they did Unfinished Business, which was basically their version of Second Chance.
Yeah.
And then they did a third All-Star season, which they also just called All Stars. But then people in the fan base called it All Stars 2, which was confusing because it was the third All-Star season.
Jesus. So yeah, I look forward to All Stars 2 be when it's really what the sixth, seventh All Star season. Yeah,
sixth. Winners at War was 5.
Sixth. Right. Okay. So yeah, All Star Survivor All Stars 2 season 45 / All Stars 6.
Yeah, it's they need to hopefully when they ultimately. Honestly, the best thing they could do is just do Second Chances 2 and just call it Second Chances 2.
Yeah,
because like it would be cool to get winners back on an All-Star season, but I think from the perspective of making like a solid theme, I think that's probably the best way they could do it.
Yeah, I would. So I would like, how to put this? I would like them to do an All Stars at 48 to get some of the like tertiary All Stars back in like the Kelly Wentworths of the world, where it's like, is she an All Star? So then you can bring them back if they do well on a Survivor 50, which will almost certainly be like a big celebration season, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's my question: next returning player season, do they tap players from pre-Winners at War?
I think they should at least tap from, I want to say, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers on, just because any of those players had a chance to return. Yeah,
just the 3 winners.
Yeah, just the 3 winners, which is like, there's so many good characters that they could bring back. I mean, Jeff Probst loves Rick Devens. You think he shouldn't come back for like? I'm not the biggest Rick Devens fan as a player. He seems like a really awesome dude, but like as a player, I'm like whatever on him. But like, I wouldn't complain seeing Rick Devens again.
Yeah, and we're like, Christian and Angelina, I think, are like really easy pull. Like even like Davey from 37 from Davey vs. Goliath. I think all 3 of those are like really solid pulls. You even look back at like there's like a handful of people from Ghost Island that kind of got overshadowed by the Dom and Wendell show.
Yeah.
Even some like of the pre-merge people who,
James.
yeah, I was gonna say
We gotta make it happen. We gotta make it happen. We gotta make the video, the pro James propaganda video, so the casting remembers.
Yeah, I know Devin Friedis has said that he would only come back to do Blood versus Water with his mom, but I feel like you gotta like at least try to get him back. I don't know.
No, agreed. And like these are people who like in almost any other era of Survivor would have had an opportunity to come back, and just because Winners at War and then the COVID forcing basically a soft reboot of the series, they just haven't.
Yeah, no, 100%. Even like Lauren Beck, like there's a lot of really good people who like even just if they were to do second chances too, like a lot of people who were really good players who didn't win, they could bring back.
Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of players where it's like I don't want them back anymore. Like we don't need to. There's a ton of players. I mean, one that comes to mind, even though I like her very much as a player, Aubrey. We don't need Aubrey back. We've gotten the full package.
No,
her tribe mate Joe England back. Ignoring all the stuff in real life about Joe, but as a player, we're good. We got it.
Yeah, we got it before he even came back a third time.
Yeah, before they constructed a season for him to win that he still lost. We understood.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think the next All-Star season should just be. That's why I said I think they should make it a second chances too, because I don't think there's a ton of like I think like Jam maybe like Marianne, like you would maybe be able to hype up if D wins this season. I think D might be like a good person to bring back. But like they already tapped 3 winners from that 40 from that 35 on era. So like I think it makes a lot of sense to just do second chances too, because most of the players you would want to tap anyways would fit that mold.
No, I agree, and like I'd love Marianne back, but we don't need winners right now. And one thing I wanted to ask was if there's a second chance and there's a ballot with Corey Wartenberger being on BB 25. Any chance to get back Wartenberger on the ballot, Ben?
I doubt it. I don't think so. I love Zach. He's been fun.
Yeah,
he was fun on the Reindeer Games episode 2 RHAP episode I just watched. And like, look, I'm a big AmeriCorey stan, so sue me. But yeah, no, Zach Wartenberger is not getting called back.
Disappointed. I just think if he had another chance, Ben, he could have redeemed himself and redeemed me.
Look, I would be down if they did it. I would be down 100%. But I just don't think they're going to do it.
No, I don't either.
Yeah,
just lame.
You
got to hold out for Amazing Race for the Wartenberger brothers to play there.
I don't. I think that unless AmeriCorey break up, I don't see that happening. I think AmeriCorey definitely sucks for Zach.
Yep. I did see that Corey went on to Julie's God 101 podcast. Amazing as a Jewish dude to go on a like reborn again Christian podcast. Just I don't know. Corey's so great.
Yeah. No, they're both a lot of fun. I appreciate that America is like still has the like internet BB fan energy.
Yeah.
She's like was a player on the show.
Yeah. Big BB Twitter energy coming out from America at all times.
She just has no filter, and she just says like the most out of pocket shit constantly. But it's great.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we could promote this time next week. Well, probably not this time next week, but sometime next week, we'll be doing a Big Brother Reindeer Games recap through 2 episodes. The third one's on right now, or I'm pretty sure on right now. Good, really good, actually.
100%. I agree. I in this episode 3 has been hyped up a lot by the players and by like the show and promos and stuff. So I'm excited after we finish recording here. To go watch it. Yeah, I agree. I came in with zero expectations. I was kind of like we were clowning it basically on the Have Not Rum. But yeah, it's for sure delivered. Like call it better challenges, call it good boot order. Call it just like the cast is really strong on the whole. I don't know. It works. It really does work. I didn't expect there to be a social strategy component to it, but there is. It's obviously like a more watered down version of like a Big Brother style social strategy, but I think that's also sort of like counterintuitively helped because people are like because there's way less limited ways for you to directly impact the game. When like the players are being handed that power, they're like using it more aggressively to like benefit themselves as opposed to just like being like, oh, I could just use this as an easy HOH.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully it stays fun. And I wouldn't hate it as a recurring thing if they want to do it again next year. Like, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see how it plays out. I don't know how the end game works. It sounds like it's just like a Final Four, and I don't know, maybe some kind of like point system or elimination system in competitions, something like that. But yeah. So far, it's exceeded my low expectations.
Yeah, considering how jaded I think us and just like the BB fan community was at large after 100 days of BB25. The fact that it's been pretty like universally like well received, it says a lot about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now they have to take this energy and bring it to BB26.
Yes, take this challenge energy specifically.
Yeah, all the challenges have been like they've been simple. Like some of them have been pretty simple, but they've been really good. Like you don't need like the strength of Big Brother wasn't like the challenges being flashy. It's like a lot of the early seasons had the most like janky fucking competitions ever, and like a lot of them were better. Like the final, like one of the parts of the final HOH for BB2 was who could put the awnings up and down in the backyard faster.
Right.
Like it was like the stupidest challenges ever, but they're more equitable. I would rather have like worse challenges that anybody could win than like really high production challenges that the same person is winning over and over again.
Yeah, agreed. I was gonna make a joke. It just felt mean. So we're just gonna go past this off the air, I'll tell you. But yeah, no, so please check that out when it drops. Subscribe to the main channel. We could get everything. I got a new video in my editing program. I just need to actually finish editing it, and then a sports channel, we could sports, and then other than that, Ben, anything you want to plug?
No, I mean, you can, I guess, follow me on Twitter at Ben Sharon. I said pretty much every podcast I barely use Twitter, so yeah, you can follow me there and see like my once every week or two I'll be active.
Yeah, you can follow me there also. Fake BMAR, BMARR. Similar to Ben, I'll like not tweet for weeks and then have one tweet and be like, oh, no one really liked this. I guess I'll go back to not tweeting again for weeks. Yeah, I don't know. Twitter, terrible, horrible experience every time I'm on there. Can feel the psychic damage coming out of my phone each time I open the app. It doesn't stop me, but it does give me a moment of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it is interesting how consistently every social media app has just been made worse over time.
Oh,
yeah. Reddit app consistently gets worse every release somehow. Discord just released a brand new mobile update, which is probably the worst mobile update I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh no.
So yeah.
Wow. hopefully the Blindsiders doesn't get worse with each new episode. Hopefully you guys are liking it more and more. But yeah, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you in the next one.